Hi, I'm Michael Fielding with the Free Academy, and we are, well, at least Michael and Tyler are here in San Francisco, and we are pleased to have Jared and Daniel with us, and they're pleased to have us with them.
Hey, don't speak to
And
me.
okay, well, maybe I can't speak for Jared, but I'm definitely pleased to have him and Daniel here with me and Michael. Michael and I are in the same room, and actually, I was just kidding. I'm not Michael. I'm Tyler. But Michael and I are here in the same the same house in two different rooms in San Francisco. Okay, so what we were doing before we just made this broadcast go live was trying to talk about sort of a topic for our discussion, or what I like to call the point of departure, because that's ultimately what it's going to be. Um, we're going to just raise some sort of vision. The stream is going to move where it wants to move. So that's why I call it a point of departure. And I had proposed something to the effect of, what does it mean to be a good reader? And probably extend that to mean a whole bunch of things, because in a sense I think that listening to somebody else talk is a way of reading. And so the question, what does it mean to be a good reader, could just as easily extend to the question of, what does it mean to be a good listener, to be a good conversation haver, or a good whatever, just reading symbols or looking at something and like being able to see what it is or something like that by interpreting its code. So I think that being a good reader is very difficult. And I don't know what it is to be a good reader, but I'll give some examples of things that I think about that made me want to ask this question. So, like, imagine you open up a book by a poet, or like you open up a sort of a collection of poems by a poet, and you start to read them, and maybe you don't understand any of what's being said. You say, this is malarkey, right? And then somebody else comes along and they start reading out of the same collection of poems, and they tend to be struck by it profoundly. Um, Maybe even to the extent that they start crying, right? And now, like, you don't have to apply this, again, of course, to just poetry, but I think that there's something to the idea that we can each look at what is presumed to be the same object or the same symbol and have different interpretations in relation to that. And so this is what I hope that we can start off maybe trying to wrap our heads around. And so, of course, naturally, this could go into talking about disagreements, or just the fact that we're all situated in different perspectives. But I think that being a good reader is being able to, if we're sticking with the example that I just used, it would mean to be able to look at the poems that you originally picked up and be affected by them in such a way that it changes your life, or it helps you achieve some sort of self-knowledge, or it helps you reassess assumptions that you had made before. It helps you grow as a person.
Hey Tyler, I have a question or an
Sure.
idea. Um, so I was thinking about how readers interact with authors and how maybe sometimes like bringing up questions is maybe a big part of being a good reader, and
Yeah.
um, also maybe yeah. I love this idea of how, there can't be a speaker without a listener, and so there can't be, a performance without an audience kind of thing. And so any type of writing that's getting distributed, it's not just a one-way street. It's kind of a back and forth with the author and whoever he's, trying to talk to, I suppose.
Yeah.
So that's something I definitely associate being a good reader with, is maybe that willingness to speak up and interact with the author, because they don't want to sit in a vacuum usually.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
I was gonna say I was listening to this econ talk with Thomas Sewell and Russ Roberts, and this is relevant because they both referenced how when they both read, like, I guess the point I'm going to make with this example is that sometimes you read something and maybe you become a good reader in regards to that one thing way later in life because all of a sudden you flash back and that thing you read is way more relatable. So finally you can connect with it. And they gave the example of a Rothbard paper, um, something like Knowledge in Society or something like that. And the paper, well, I won't get into it, but it was a short essay, like 20 pages long. And they both said when they read it, they didn't find it to be profound at all. And then later in life, they both encountered something where that paper ended up being incredibly impactful, and they just feel like when they first read it, they didn't get it, or they didn't know how to apply it. And so sometimes you can read something, have absorbed it, but you're not at a skill level with the material maybe to relate to it until much later.
Yeah. Yeah, like, and I think that the point that you may be touching on there is what I would.
You still there?
I don't hear anything.
No.
Did I on you, Tyler? Yeah, come sit next to me. All right, Tyler's gonna join me on this one. Go, get on in here. Yeah. Conveniences of geography right here.
Yeah. Okay. Like a lot of that got mixed up. I didn't know what I missed or what I caught, but I think I was saying something to what you were saying, Jared. Is yeah, like I think what you were touching on is how is like what I understand by the idea that our perception of things requires a certain level of understanding. And maybe that oftentimes comes through sort of attentiveness or sort of work that you're willing to put into, or sort of your willingness to just submit to the thing that sort of is before you, and just let it like affect you directly. But I think that yeah, that's what makes sense of how we can oftentimes, when you look at a really dense book, let's say for the first time, you can't make sense of it, or like when the people that you were just referring to read a poem and it doesn't affect them in a profound way. Well, I think that sort of through time and effort and attentiveness and like whatever else it may be, we can come to understand these things in a new way and thus come to perceive them in a new way. It's like a joke, right? Like if you have to over-explain the punchline of a joke, then it's not funny, right? Sort of what's funny in the joke comes through you're already having achieved a certain kind of knowledge or a certain level of understanding.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, it's so
So
cool.
I have a question. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna, no, it was a short thought, but yeah, it was just cool how they both experienced the same, like, just thought the writing wasn't profound until they could apply it to something, until it became relevant to them. You know, I feel like that's so much about learning is it's really hard to retain things or to find them useful until they're relatable to something that you're curious about. But anyway, yeah, I guess that was the whole point. But it's cool how
Yeah,
they both mentioned it.
that totally plays into my idea, or is more of a question for Daniel, being a student in a massage therapy school. I was wondering, what do you think makes a good learner of, say, massage therapy? Because it's kind of this idea that's, outside of, language. It's not something you can just read in a book. You definitely have to have that hands-on experience too. Yeah, I was wondering if you've noticed any things that help you kind of remember everything, or like,
Get
be
good.
a
Yeah,
better
sure.
masseuse.
Yeah, no, yeah. So, I went to UT and had the university experience, and I like struggled a lot in a lot of my classes because I just didn't have interest in it. And so this is just something where the only reason that I'm in this class is because I chose that I want to be there. Like, there's nobody else telling me I need to go to this class. Like, having a genuine interest in it, I mean, that's crucial. Like, if you're not interested in something, it's going to be a lot harder to learn it, or to understand it. So what's your question exactly again?
And I guess how do you be a good learner of massage therapy? Like, what kind? I mean, I'm sure there's the attention in
So yeah,
class and
so
showing up
so
first of all,
relating it
right?
back to the topic of reading, I mean, it being such a hands-on thing, you have to put in the practice um, and the time massaging people, and then eventually you can read the body, and then you read your textbooks, and then you learn the anatomy, and then you can read the body even better. Uh, so you're reading kind of both with your hands as well as uh, with your brain. Reading and learning up all the anatomy on the textbooks and stuff, and relating that to the body laying right in front of you. And
Yeah,
Yes, you get
that's
to.
interesting that you talk about reading the body.
right,
Yeah.
and I think it really correlates too. Like for me, I'm also not that great of a reader, and mainly it's because I don't read that many books. I mean, I read a lot on the internet and stuff, but it's different for me to like read a book. And when I read a book, I'm sitting there and page by page, sometimes I have to like go back to the top and reread that entire page.
Mhm.
But I think when I'm reading a lot consistently, I get better at that. You know, where we do anything enough, like we practice things, we get better at them. And so you have to develop these skills to read things, both intellectually, or through a book or through reading just the world that we live in so many different
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah, and like, I've always wondered why it's so hard for us to read, or why it's so hard for some people to read actually like words in a book, in the way that you just described it, where sometimes you have to go back to the top of a page to read it. And maybe it's because we we sort of we sort of look to language sometimes as trying to sort of represent exactly the way that the world is or something. But notice how when you're reading, if I said that the ginger ale bottle is on top of the table, right? That's that's a representation of the world that I had to string together with a series of sounds, or maybe graphemes, or like little etchings that I write on a piece of paper.
Right.
Those That's a series of sounds and it's a series of sounds and etches on a piece of paper or in the air coming out of my mouth that are strung together in a linear way. But notice how the bottle being on top of the table is 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 a complex state of affairs, where each part is happening simultaneously. And so maybe when we look too hard for language to sort of to sort of to sort of represent the world in the way that it actually is right there, like a sort of a one-to-one representation. Maybe it becomes hard for us because we ultimately know that that's not how it is, right? Language is strung together in this linear-like way, but the state of affairs that a sentence like the ginger ale bottles on top of the table, the state of affairs that that sentence is supposed to represent is actually something that's composed of many things happening at the same time, when in a sentence it can only happen one at a time. So maybe we suck at reading because it just takes so long to sort of piece it all together.
That's
Yeah, that's
interesting because
interesting, but I also think like as you're reading along, you can have these really complex, vivid pictures like flowing in your brain. So on the other hand, it's like incredible how a linear series of symbols can like produce these vivid hallucinations or at least associations between
yeah,
different mental concepts that you wouldn't have had before. It's like literally staring at something that's not moving and seeing shit, which is just fucking nuts
yeah.
on the one
I
hand.
was gonna say because you said that phrase, and before Michael showed it to me, I pictured it just right. Like I pictured it just how it looked. But that's only because I have experience with those type of interactions in my life. So like if you had said that same phrase without me having experienced, I don't know, different bottles being set on tables, maybe that sentence doesn't really transfer the meaning that you were intending it to, but just because I have experience with it, you can say that, and then my brain makes all these assumptions from my own personal experience, and I happen to visualize it just right. So it's
Yeah,
like so dependent on what experiences you've had in your own life as to what you can interpret from reading language. when you're reading a book.
Right.
Getting into concept acquisition, Tyler's one of his favorite topics
Sure.
as of late.
Sure, and you know, I think that applies to massage therapy again too, because like maybe we want to think that, right, when you have your hands going, like let's say you're just giving a back massage, right, like you have your hands going over somebody, it seems maybe at first we would want to say that that's so much different than reading a text across a page, but in some sense, in the way that we've been describing it, it's very similar because, right, if you don't have this experience of knowing that a tight knot in the shoulder is going to cause somebody pain and that sort of like rubbing it out is going to maybe like alleviate their pain. If you don't have sort of, if you feel that on somebody's back and you don't understand what that means, then you're not going to be able to read it in such a way that you respond by, oh, okay, I stop here and then I like rub it out, right?
Yeah, rub it out.
So there's a certain level of understanding and experience that goes into reading, whether that be a text or even in this case a body.
Man, this is BS, man. I was trying to use some sound effects while you're talking, and it won't let me access them.
Oh no.
I'm sorry.
I really wanted to applaud. There, yeah, there we go. What's up? I was trying to.
I have to make them available apparently.
Man, I really wanted to
Whoever-
applaud
Whoever starts it.
when you're talking about massaging. I really wanted to applaud after you said sometimes, you know, you need to let one out or something like that. All right, better late than never.
Yeah.
Man, but so
Now that I totally disrupted everything.
Yeah.
Can't disrupt the flow. The flow is just the flow.
D money.
Yo.
What's up, D money?
Well, I don't know. The topic that you came up with was what makes somebody a good reader, and I'm not sure if you can really be a good reader, or if you can. I don't know. I guess you can, but like, reading is gonna mean different things in different. As opposed to like reading, as opposed to reading somebody's facial expressions, or
Yeah.
Totally.
reading systems. I don't know. There's just a different level of understanding that you have to have for each one, but I guess it all relates.
Right, and that's why I was trying to suggest that maybe the question, what does it mean to be a good reader, can be cashed out in the question, what does it mean to be a good masseuse, right? Because I think that sort of like I want to understand reading broadly enough to sort of apply it to my way of walking down the street, right? I have to sort of
Right.
read my environment, so to speak. So if a ball flies out from a driveway when I'm flying down a hill on my bike, right? I have to be good enough to read my environment really quickly so that I can sort of like respond in the right way, right? I can swerve around the ball, and so in the same way, right? To be a good masseuse means that you have to read I want to say that it requires you like reading your environment in the proper way and like responding to this person's body and taking what you know about sort of like massage therapy and human anatomy and sort of using that to inform how you respond to what you encounter and touching this person's body in a certain way.
Yeah.
Go
So in grade school, or I guess in reading books, like you have people who can read the book, and then you have people who can read it and really interpret it. So whether their brain is just processing the information better, or if they're better at analyzing information, for one reason or another, they're better readers. In massage therapy, I could learn how to do Swedish massage, and I could get a job at a massage envy and go slam out, 50 Swedish massages a week. That would make me a massage therapist. What would make me a good massage therapist is if I can not just do a 1 hour long massage and get the hour filled up, but if I can actually help and heal individual people which means that, yeah, I know where the muscles are. You know, I've really read up on the physiology of the body and the pathology and the anatomy. You know, I understand how all these different systems work. So that would just be using the massage thing like a little analogy to what would be somebody a good massage therapist.
So I think it's really interesting. Both of you guys kind of hit on outcomes and how that's maybe the way we're judging whether a person was a good reader. Like Tyler mentioned, you know, if you can swerve to avoid the ball, then you're gonna get fucked. And like, you obviously weren't reading the situation as good as you could have. And like, same with maybe giving a poor massage. Like, you weren't reading the situation right. But the only way we know you weren't reading it right was because of the outcome. So I guess my question is, like, how much of the experience of like reading or say learning more generally, like, do we judge whether you're doing it well based on later, like how well you're acting, or is it in the moment? Like, can I tell someone's being a good reader by watching them that second, or do you have to wait to see what happens later?
Well, I think that's the benefit of having, you know, education systems and having somebody who's kind of they have a lot of experience in watching people learn and helping and assisting them to learn. Problem is, our education system, as it stands, they don't really encourage good reading. They encourage learn how to read so you can take our fucking test.
Yeah, I don't think that was really my question, though. It's more like, even say if there was a totally different education system, like, how do you judge whether someone's learning well? Like, can you do it in the moment, or do you have to wait till later? Like, do you have to test
Well,
someone
so in massage,
right now?
In massage, I give somebody a massage every day of class, and the person I'm giving the massage to tells me how that feels to them. So
that seems like a real good feedback loop. That you know,
right, exactly. It's awesome. I mean, and some people don't, but I encourage them to, and I always tell people, you know, you could definitely use a little bit more pressure here, a little bit less pressure here. You feel a little pokey, you know. I don't, you know, I definitely encourage that, and I think that right there is. That person is assisting my better understanding of the situation. So
totally, that seems awesome. That like in the moment as you're learning, you can also be finding out like if you're being effective.
Right. And when does that happen in public education? You're just sitting at your fucking desk, praying you're doing it right, afraid to raise your hand.
Well, I feel like
we're gonna have a test at the end of the week. Everybody study before Friday.
Okay, pop quiz. Just kidding.
I feel like the main thing that we're hitting on is like, I don't know, because okay, so in the moment maybe you gave a bad massage, but I wonder if you can judge whether or not someone's reading the situation well just based on in the moment, because they could learn so much from that experience that goes on to help them, like, I don't know, the next time or down the road. So it's almost like, yeah, a timeline is so interesting in regards to a successful outcome from a certain action, because everyone's going to have a different timeline, and maybe you can't judge the experience immediately after, let's say, for example, one massage, because maybe it wasn't a good massage, but you learned a lot from it. You know, that you're going to go on and have profound, you know, reactions to later.
Yeah, maybe we could talk about the value of mistakes, or like how, like doing something bad in the moment can like totally make something better later on, or like especially with the feedback from others.
Yeah. So maybe before we go there, I want to say something that perhaps relates a bit more to what we were just talking about. You know, I don't know if we should go as far to say that that whether or not someone is being a good reader is always determined by the final outcome. Because I think
you would think so.
Sure. So then maybe a better way to put it would be to say that like an outcome is good because the person in that moment was sort of doing the right things. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that after you give someone a massage them telling you that was a good massage, that's not what like retroactively makes what you were doing good,
Good or bad,
right?
right.
But it's almost like it's being good was a consequence of your already being a good masseuse or like doing the right things in that moment. But yeah, you were talking about okay, but then you said you asked the question.
Just like measuring whether or not you're learning based on the outcome, or can you like look at someone in the moment and say, oh, he seems to be learning really well right now, even though I don't know how he's going to apply that knowledge,
Oh,
or if he
yeah.
ever will, or like
Yeah.
if he might fuck up later.
Right.
Like, I feel like timeline, like, we can never know for
Feels like
sure.
you can kind of look at someone and tell like if they're absorbing. You can look at someone and tell if they're listening or not, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can tell if they're learning or not.
Everything happens on a timeline. I don't get what the issue is. I mean, in order to learn anything, something else has to happen.
So, okay, so it's like maybe the question is this. Okay, maybe we have to ask the more general question, what is it to learn something, right? Is like learning just being able to sort of store information and regurgitate it? So like, look at this. We might ask, is Siri intelligent, right? Or like,
Siri, are you intelligent?
Like, is a Google search bar intelligent? Does it learn anything? Well,
Siri, are you intelligent?
Because it does learn.
Hold on.
Well, a wise man once said, I am so smart. SMRT.
Alright, that wasn't very good.
Good one. Good one.
Siri let me down.
Okay, so
My answer is no.
Perhaps before I mix up the examples, I want to say something like, well, okay, some people, I take it, look at learning as consisting in being able to just retain a bunch of facts, right? But oftentimes we find ourselves, I think, saying that learning is a matter of having an open mind, right? This is to say being open and sort of being able to work through some line of thought, or being able to do something, or or like maybe it doesn't always have to be with asserting something true, right? It can just be like you are learning insofar as you're exploring and being open to I don't know, the possibility that you're getting wrong, right? Like you're trying to discover something. And so it's not just a matter of me like blasting into you with knowledge, right?
Sure.
And so
Because if
maybe
not,
if that's the case.
I was gonna say, because if not, like, I like, sorry, this crazy visual just occurred in my mind when you were talking about this. Like, if some form of intelligence isn't the ability to like push things forward or make new connections or have new ideas, then like the only society would stall, right? Because the only knowledge that's available is already created, like it's already been thought and just drilled into everyone's head. So some part of intelligence has to be this ability to create new connection that pushes the knowledge boundary further. And it doesn't always mean these connections are right, but it's just something that just pushes people's trains of thought or consciousness just a little bit further.
Yeah.
Or else wouldn't we stall? Is that a fair concept that if that's not a form of intelligence, that somehow like the only knowledge that could exist is the knowledge that already exists?
Right.
Sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's making
Where
me
does
think
the new
of,
shit come from?
Yeah, well, making me think of the dialectic, I guess, form of like thesis, antithesis, and then synthesis. So like basically you have an idea, and then like there's things that go outside of that idea, and then you try to hop out to this higher level view of like how that interacts with the other thing, and like it all fits together in a way you didn't see before.
Yeah,
maybe.
and then that becomes a new
thesis. Yeah.
I feel like this is a perfect example of like, through the use of a conversation like this, we're all making connections that we probably never could have made, or maybe not could have ever made, but wouldn't have made had we not had this particular discussion. And maybe it's just a combination of like thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of these you bump into other people that have different connections, and then their connections open you up to new connections, and that's all really expanding a knowledge base is just like, I don't know. That's just a thought
Totally.
that occurred to me. I don't know how well
So
thought
I
out.
guess the question then is like how, because we don't have infinite time, so we have to select who we're gonna like interact with, or like who we're gonna try to learn from, or who we're gonna hold conversations with. So that brings us right back to the question of like, how do I know if I'm learning? Like, how do I know if I'm doing a good job right now of trying to learn, or like, are these people I'm interacting with like helping me or hurting me, or like should I find new, like, yeah, I mean, it's right back to the question of how can I tell? And especially, I think, in the moment, like, how can I tell right now if I'm on a good path, like, if the people I'm interacting with are helping me learn, or if I need to get on a different track, like,
Is it
uh,
fun?
Yeah.
Would it be
and
just
because like you can't use outcomes for that because I'm deciding right now,
Yeah.
so I can't wait to see what the outcome is. I have to decide today, like, should I, like, keep interacting with the people I am, or like should I try to form new connections, or like a combination, or who
Well, I don't think
knows?
there's any should or shouldn't. There's
Right.
just
Well, would I
there's just
prefer
a way
maybe?
that you're stimulated enough to where your particular conscious mind chooses to do one thing. And I think I don't know. I think it also goes down to like the physiology of people's brains. I think some people's brains work a little differently too. Like, some people may have a stronger cerebrum, or what's the front called?
Prefrontal cortex?
Frontal cortex. I mean, there's some parts of the brain where just like instinctively people do things or make decisions.
Oh,
And
totally.
There's definitely
Totally.
a spectrum of
The
different
majority.
mental, I don't know, I guess, just degrees to which people use different parts of their brain. We call them mental disorders or whatever.
yeah, like I
I
don't
don't really know what my point was there, but
I dug it.
Yeah, I got it.
We're just learning.
we're just learning. And also
Like, how do we know
driving.
that we're learning?
How do we know that we're learning?
Yeah, that's the ultimate question.
I
Like,
would say what's fun. Like I guess to Michael's
what's
thing, like
okay? I
like
dig that answer a lot,
like
actually.
when you say what should you be doing this or should you be like spending time with other people, like I guess if you're enjoying the moment, how it's hard to look back and well, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's easy to look back and regret certain things, but like you got to just go you got to trust your instinct in the moment
Ah,
because whoever you are now, when you're choosing to do that thing, you have the like the most accurate knowledge to make that choice than you ever will.
well, no, you'll have more information in the future, right? So you'll be able to theoretically be able to make better choices.
No, but I mean, like for right now, you can only
Tyler doesn't like that.
yeah,
Because we live in the moment, and our
yeah.
choices are the best choices we
Well,
can
no,
make.
I'm
Well, I
saying
feel like you gotta
that a choice that you have to make right now,
yeah, you don't have
you're
the
not going to become better informed to have made that choice.
Yeah, but
Because,
sometimes
like,
deferring a choice is a choice I can make right now. Like deferring the option to later. Like I don't have to
well,
make
that
the
is
choice
the
now. I
choice
can
though.
wait.
But that is a
Sometimes.
choice.
Okay.
I tend to do that a lot. Like I push off my decisions. Like I see a split point, like I could go one way or the other, and like I tend to like wait as long as possible until I have to make that decision. Well,
But
and
I
then,
think
then I flow with it.
no, that's a
Yeah, that's all I meant.
that's a weird visual for me because that would imply that it's like there's just like I could stay in San Francisco or I could do something else. But it's like I think
That hurts.
deferring is a decision in and of itself. Like you're still making a
Yeah, I
decision
agree.
right now to we could jump on this hangout or I could watch TV or I could have gone to sleep or I could have like smoked or like but I chose in this moment out of all I had the information at hand with what I felt like I wanted to do. And for me, like I was most excited about hopping on this call. But I could look back afterwards and regret it, but I don't know that in the future I had more information to make the right decision in the moment that I made
Yeah,
it.
but this is a situation you can't defer, I think, again. So maybe like
What?
okay, so I have an ounce of gold, for instance, and like every day of my life, I could choose to sell it, or I could defer that decision.
No, that
And
is a decision. You're choosing
maybe
not to
that's
sell
a
it.
bad example too,
You've
but
chosen not to sell it.
You're choosing that's not.
Or like maybe you're not choosing to not sell it, right?
I don't think about it every day.
Like yeah, so like if you just have your gold at your parents' house and we're just on a walk and it never even occurs to you, it seems like you're only deferring, and so choosing to not sell it. Once you say, should I or should I not sell my gold? And you say, better not sell it yet. Yeah.
Yeah,
Alright,
no,
that's
that,
Only at that point
it
do you
does.
make the
That
decision.
is
So
the
that's
decision.
a little bit different. Maybe the choice would be like,
So then in that sense, you would never become more informed
yeah. So that's a
on
different
how
one.
to make that choice better.
Hunter S. Thompson has a quote on this, and it says, "A man who procrastinates in his choosing will inevitably have his choice made for him by circumstance."
Huh. Now that's interesting. So okay, maybe the question is like, what is waiting then? Like, is waiting ever make sense? Like, certainly sometimes it makes sense to wait, but okay, you're not. So you're still gonna make the decision to pull the trigger like before
Having a
circumstance.
choice.
But see, it's
Yeah.
not hesitation. Okay, so then I guess the question is, what's the difference between hesitation and waiting? Like one seems unconscious, like I'm scared, I don't want to do it now, like I'm gonna hesitate. But then waiting is more like don't think right now is the best time to act. Like let me do it later.
Yeah.
I kind of view I
It's
view
not
them
the same.
I view them both as conscious choices. Like the hesitation may feel less coherent, but I think I might view that. I have to think about this more, but I think I might view even hesitation as a conscious choice.
Okay, well then, do you choose to beat your heart?
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean clearly some things are involuntary, but I typically
Yeah.
feel like. Well, I guess it's all come down to like what time scale you think making a decision comes to.
Or like I'm thinking of a deer in the headlights. Like, is it choosing to freeze, or is that just like the biological response?
Yeah, it's a biological hesitation.
Yeah.
And it's to its
Yeah.
detriment.
But I mean, I
Sometimes,
guess
yeah.
It's not virtuous.
Maybe originally though, like I'm sure it evolved because it was virtuous.
Well,
Because it saved more of them than it hurt.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think how that might have ever helped a creature.
Yeah. Well, like, like we mean, okay, like let's say that you're walking up to talk to a girl, right? Because you want to, like, you're out on the town and you want to talk to this girl and you want to sort of, I don't know, woo her or try to like do whatever we do to sort of charm them into having sex with us or something like that. Are all about, right? Well, like the moment that you get caught up thinking about what you're going to say when you walk up to her, right? You have this sort of hesitation, right? And then like maybe you get all nervous because it's being too built up in your mind, right? You're sort of creating this fictional narrative before anything even takes place. And just the fact of these kinds of experiences is that our thinking too much about what we're going to say sort of blocks us from being able to say anything. And so like you start thinking about how you're going to be smooth to this girl, but it's precisely not smooth because you are trying to be smooth, right? And smooth just as a kind of way of spontaneously saying and doing the right things,
Totally.
right? And so trying to be spontaneous is just a contradiction. So
like analysis by paralysis, or what is it? Analysis paralysis. Like you start thinking
paralysis
there's too many
by analysis. Yeah.
Okay, and then you just
Yeah.
can't.
So like that. So that would be hesitation, as I understand it.
Yeah, I'm starting to get y'all's point. I think it's probably more. Well, in that case, I feel like that's more a conscious, like over worrying. Like you're conscious that you're choosing to do it sometimes. But like the deer in the headlights, I would definitely agree. Like that's a good example of a hesitation. I don't think the deer chose that. But also, I would give an example as to when that hesitation would be useful. I feel like it's because an animal that just runs off in a direction may run to its captor, but like maybe that's like a thing that gets it to pause and like listen before it makes its choice. Because I was thinking
I'm not understanding how a deer in the headlights doesn't choose to stare at the headlights.
See, I'm conflicted.
Okay, well, like, are you? No, I think it's a good one. I don't think he's choosing. I think it's
They're
totally
just like, what's that?
like
Deer.
instinct.
I mean, what? I mean, is the deer conscious?
What? Is the deer
consciously
conscious? Oh.
choosing to, like, what do you mean by it choosing? I mean, its
Okay.
body
I don't know.
is stopping
Maybe we
there.
could go back to the human examples just to keep things
Or it's like
easier.
Michael, like I'm
Like,
gonna
if you
slap
put
either
me-
the right or the left side of your face, right? And then and it's so good, right? That was the Zen response.
It reminds me of the other day we had a talk, and Tyler asked me a really good question at the end about like the difference between positive and negative freedoms and how that might impact my political philosophy, and it totally put me on pause. Like I felt taken aback, and like I could even see rewatching the video, like I was almost a deer in the headlights. But I processed through it, and I talked my way out of it. But like I felt that feeling of like an unconscious hesitation, and I've done that before. I froze on stage at the Jenner house, and like I had got up there and I wanted to talk about what it was like to live in the woods, and I was like, it's my life. Like obviously I can just talk about it, but then I got up there and it was the first time I'd been on stage in like years, and I had this false sense of confidence that like everything was gonna go good. Although I thought that would help me. I thought the false confidence would help me do it, but like.
Okay,
Anyways, I got up there and froze, and it wasn't conscious. I didn't mean to.
so your
I just
question
couldn't
is,
spit out a word for like 30 seconds.
so you're wondering, did you choose to go up there and not say anything?
Well, I would say I didn't choose that. Like, if the way I use the word choose, I
Yeah.
didn't choose it.
But you probably hesitated because you were probably trying to choose your words.
Yeah. And a million other things that I think were unconscious. And like,
yeah. Whereas on our line
just
of thought
people
right
eyes is looking at me, Like,
yeah. So then it seems like maybe had you not tried to choose your words so much,
maybe, but I
you
kind of
would
went
have
up
said the
without.
right thing.
I had topics I wanted to hit on, but I didn't go up with exact words. I didn't try to memorize it. So in
I feel
that
like
situation,
like
I
a-
don't think it was a conscious choice, and I don't think it was I wasn't searching for the right word. I just got up there and I was scared and I hesitated by any meaning of the word. I didn't say anything, so I hesitated, right? Like, I don't know. But that was unconscious, kind of like the deer in the headlights. I think that's a real thing.
I think it's like a moment where you're overwhelmed by the stimuli, and so
Yeah.
so for the deer, I would say the more I think about it, the less I feel like that's a conscious. Or I'm coming off that it's conscious because
Whatever
I've
deer
been-
consciousness is.
Well, yeah, it's not weird, but I mean, I've had moments where we like to use that phrase with humans because we see some of like a similar reaction in humans sometimes. So,
Totally.
and I'm starting to think it's not conscious. That's like that's just your body overwhelmed to stimuli and like making that situation happen until you can calm down and then you make a decision again. Or I don't know. That's how I would describe
it's
it.
totally a
Don't make
useful.
decisions.
I think it's a useful strategy though too. Like me and you in the forest, right? Like when the cops came like one of our first times, and we just we ran off a little bit and then froze, because eyes detect movement, so it totally makes sense as an evolutionary strategy to freeze, because predators and cops are another form of predator, and it's harder to see something that's not moving.
Yeah, like squirrels. Someone told me this, and then I've been watching them, and I've kind of noticed it. Squirrels typically they'll do 3 jumps, and then they freeze, and then they freeze, and it's like what he was saying. And again, I haven't fact checked it, but I've observed it myself now. But I don't know if the reasoning is true. But what he was attributing it to is they hop and then they want to listen, and they want to see like what's going on around them before they decide which direction they're going to go next. And
Totally. And when you're moving, you're making noise, and then you
so it's
can't hear
hard.
other people.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So I don't know if
yeah,
he was right.
waiting. I think waiting in general is like it can be a very good strategy for all kinds of different parts of life, you know. So I don't like this idea that hesitation is necessarily a bad thing. Well, maybe we're distinguishing.
Well,
Like hesitation is
One is like
unconscious,
kind of
waiting
wait.
is conscious.
Yeah, I would say that.
Well, so there's
Not-
there's like choosing not to do something, then there's hesitating, and then there's the part where you're going through time without even thinking about something.
I really dig that point too.
Because that seems like that's what your gold thing was for a while. Like you just really weren't even thinking about it, right?
right,
Not that you
yeah,
weren't-
like
you weren't choosing or weren't hesitating. You just wasn't on your mind.
totally. It's just
So what
a
is
part
that?
of the universe that I left, you know, and then I'll come back to it later. Basically, it's not in my decision-making like realm or whatever.
But I feel like
hesitation is only
once
negative circumstantially.
What's up?
I said hesitation is only negative circumstantially.
Okay, so that's back to this idea that like we can only judge events by their outcomes, kind of thing. Or like we were talking earlier, I think before you got on, about kind of this question of whether you can tell if you're learning well in the moment, or whether it's only you can only judge it after the fact by the outcomes. So like, can we tell if Daniel is in the moment learning massage really well, like one day in class, like can we tell if he's learning, or can you only measure it by whether or not he's a good masseuse later on? So I feel like that's kind of the same thing with the hesitation, or like, you know, you said you can only judge it by circumstance, like how it comes out, right? Like, but can you ever, like, well then how do we know whether it's a good idea to wait or not? If I can only judge by the outcome, then that doesn't help me because it hasn't happened yet.
that would mean like we don't know if we had a good life until we die, right? That's like
I like that.
All choice comes with risk, so you just kind of weigh the pros and cons in that moment and go for it.
I feel like it's like this moment.
Just like,
Or like, how about if Sean never dies, can we say that he's lived a good life?
Or maybe until, right? Just
Well, yeah, because
like right now, right? I mean, we don't want to posit
Oh,
that he's
yeah.
not going to die. I'm just saying, like, until you die, like, can we know if you're living a good life until
Well, like,
you die?
I'm saying if he never died, I mean, like, I'm just
Oh.
it doesn't matter to
like
me,
that,
at least.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, it depends, right? Because like it depends on how you look at it. Because let's say Sean lives to be 100, and he's only 25 years in. So right now, like if he had 75 years of misery, but he had like 25 good years to start, and that's just when we're commenting on he's had a good life. Like, how do you? I don't know. That's interesting.
Michael, I
I
don't
mean,
think
it
you can
gets-
ever look in and tell if somebody is learning well or not. I
Okay,
think that
that's
I think that
that's a great claim.
the whole concept of being able to learn, we obviously have a pretty developed conscious mind to where we are able to learn. And unless you can tap into my conscious mind, I don't think you can really see if I'm learning anything. Because even if I seem to have done
bullshit,
something,
dude.
well, can
unless
you
I
know?
seem to have
Sometimes people know what you're thinking better than you know.
it
Clearly,
doesn't happen
that's-
very
Well,
often.
I was
think
thinking-
literally-
Even if
That
we
definitely
just
doesn't happen very often. I mean, when do people know what I'm thinking?
when
Yeah.
they
You know
look
what
at
I'm
your
thinking
face,
right now?
man.
There's like
Well, when we
silent
watch you
Okay.
at
but
when we watch you at the bar
when
and you
you're
turn
talking.
around as the girl's walking away, we know what you're thinking.
Yeah, but okay, but so if I'm to give a massage to 50, right? I could give.
You're gonna have to say
concur.
it again. I
Greatest
don't know.
thing ever. So I mean, that's totally
Blanked out. Man.
determined by. So say I have 50 people in a public. They don't know anything about about massage, so they don't know if I'm a good or bad massage therapist regardless. So how can they tell if I'm learning or not, if I'm learning or not learning?
I
Maybe
kind of
by
like.
how you make them feel, right?
Well, because again,
Yes.
it comes down to what is it to learn, and so that's probably, I think Sean said it, there's a kind of relativity to what it means to be learning good, right? Maybe the way that you learn to become a massage therapist is different than how we assess whether or not you're learning the ways of Zen or something like that.
I kind of think
Yeah,
I'm with
but
you here.
so say I'm in massage class, right? And I'm trying to get down a technique. Maybe my instructor, and this is something that they get on me about all the time, is my body mechanics. Get lower into your lunge or get into your bow stance. We have these different stances so we keep our body aligned and shit. But anyway, I might get something down one day, like, because he showed me how to do it, but then the next day he thinks I've learned it, but I haven't really learned it because I'm still going to be stuck in. Or maybe I did learn it. I did it.
And
So
lots-
then-
Maybe I just haven't made a habit of it yet.
but I.
All right. Question. Oh, go for it.
Oh, well, this is quick. I'm with Daniel, though. I wanted to back him up. I don't think anyone can ever know what's in your head better than you can, but what I think they can do is they can express it out loud in a way that helps them better understand what you had in your head.
Yeah,
But
and
no-
they can do their best to read it.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone can know what's in your head better than you, but they may be able to express what you're thinking in a way that helps them understand it, in a way that makes them think that perhaps they understood exactly what was in your head. I don't know if it's very well.
I
And
agree.
even then, their models of the same concepts are different, so it's only a sorta understanding, if that makes any sense.
Well, yeah, I guess we
But-
never. But go to your question, Sean.
Right. Well, I was just saying, like, what y'all say about consciousness, and all right. So, say this is just a like a thought tool, I guess. And say we have a robot that can do all the same exact things that a human being can do, and it can, it can feel, smell, think, it can devise its own plans, everything. And it can even tell you exactly what it's doing. Would you consider that robot conscious? And if so, what, if not, rather, what changes our consciousness, or what makes our consciousness unique from a robot who is, has the same exact experiences and, like, as a human being?
I think you're a robot just pretending to be a human.
It
Yeah.
can be.
I agree.
And you're
all cellular
unconscious.
I mean, I think it could be very close, but I mean, to get it, I mean, I don't know, and I can't say if you can or can't, but I don't believe that we could build something that could have the exact same feeling of existence as it does to be a biological human. I don't think there's that type of technology or capability.
Well, okay, just by saying that, though, you're like positing or saying that all biological humans have the same kind of
Right.
consciousness phenomenon.
Okay,
And
but
I
so
think
did
that's
Sean.
probably
So,
wrong.
okay, right.
That's probably not wrong.
We
I
don't
mean, I
have
think we-
all
yeah,
the
it's all
same
similar.
kind of consciousness. Like,
Same kind of dude. Like, we don't even know what the fuck we're
No,
talking
totally
about.
not.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's got to be different. Like,
This is so uncontained. This is so, like, the question is, are we learning
Right.
anything right now? Do
No!
we even care to learn something? Why, dude? Like, I think we've had the wrong question from the beginning.
Well, it's because if it's fine.
Why?
If it's fun,
Why is
do it.
learning so?
Only if it's fun.
All right,
That's
so what's
the right
what's a
question.
better question?
Why should we care to learn?
Why should we care to learn?
I'm just
I
curious.
can only say it's fun. Like, I don't know.
Okay, so are we learning if we're having fun right now?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, like you weren't saying that learning is having fun.
Right.
You say we should care to learn because it's fun.
Yeah, that's the square in the rectangle problem. Like, not
I
everything
don't,
that's
I
fun
don't
is
like that
learning.
definition of learning.
No, I wasn't saying that. Okay, I think, yeah, I wasn't saying that everything that's fun is learning, but I was saying that learning is valuable because it's fun.
So are we learning?
I feel like I'm learning,
I've put some new associations together today.
and I'm having fun.
I would say
I'm
that's
learning that y'all want to skip over my consciousness thought tool.
But yeah, I
Wait,
like your
what?
I said I'm learning that y'all wanted to skip over my consciousness thought tool, and if there's a robot,
Because
that-
it's a pseudo, yeah, it's
I
a
answered
weird
it.
pseudo question that's like it's hard to answer.
well, I just say that because artificial general intelligence, like this is exactly what they're trying to accomplish with that. And so therefore if we were able to develop these things, you know, what is the difference between our consciousness and them if they quote unquote claim to be
Yeah,
Man,
conscious?
so
that
like,
word,
if we
like-
treat it like it's conscious,
Right.
then
I'm-
like what does it matter? Like if I
I'm
can
really-
fall in love with a robot and it seems
I have
to
to
be in
grab-
love with me, then I don't care.
Yeah. All right.
well, and
Does she have a vagina?
And then if that's the case, is consciousness such a special thing, quote unquote? If we have this, we have a
No, I don't think it's
mechanical
that
thing
special.
that can, yeah.
Like
Like,
it's
but-
well, it's special insofar as it's fundamental. That's what your life is. Your life just is being conscious. So like it's
Right.
like you shouldn't downplay it. Like it's not special or
Right.
important or.
Okay, yeah, so... Yeah,
But
I
at
can
the
see what
same
Tyler's
time,
saying.
not-
like,
not-
this is the
not
only
so
way we're
special.
ever going to
Not-
experience anything. You know, is
Right.
consciousness. So then, but that's a word that we can like associate with different things. That's all I was trying to say is that word itself isn't all that important. It's more the
Right.
experience maybe that we get out of it rather than the exact linguistic associations.
Right.
That
Not okay.
That thing. we were
Right.
talking-
You're right that it's
I
not
guess.
right.
Oh, yeah.
Shouldn't downplay it, but at the same time, it's not something that we can't recreate. Possibly, I guess.
Well, yeah, who knows?
I know we can recreate consciousness because that's what, like, if you have sex and
You
like
have
a baby, we can make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would
And I don't see any difference between that and like
Recreate
programming a
consciousness
computer.
outside of
To answer
biological
your
order.
question. Yeah, to
Yeah,
answer your question, I don't think there's that much difference between programming a computer with a robot with skin or whatever versus like impregnating a woman and like she gives birth to a baby. Like either way, you're moving atoms to create a consciousness. Like
Right.
by any familiar use of the word, like if I'm going to interact with it, like even the way we interact with Siri, you're treating her as if she's semi-conscious at least. Like you're talking to her. Like I don't know. I think that word's a distraction maybe.
On that alone, yeah, right. On that note, they've developed artificial skin, synthetic skin rather, that you can wear it like gloves, and you know, obviously it'll like stimulate all your neurons and stuff. So if you can be watching like a virtual reality or an augmented reality, and you know, move around and actually touch things and feel them as if you're actually there touching these things, like feeling a tree or you know, something along those lines. I think it's going to be a super interesting future in that, like, people will pay people to go out hiking and touch particular things so they can experience that while they're just laying in some bed.
Oh man, I want to be that guy. The guy who gets paid to go around and touch things.
Right, 5 years.
5
booties.
years? No way. I mean, I
Yeah.
hope so, but I don't
Yeah.
believe it.
Check out the, have a look at the
bet on
Tesla
it,
suit.
at least. What?
Have a look at the Tesla suit.
Okay,
Tesla suit.
I'll Google it.
I mean, it fits those exact parameters. It's already here.
Hey,
I
you
think
should
I'm-
talk about the musical suit where like you can play. This lady made a TED talk. It's pretty cool. It's about like. So it was the other direction, not
Well, it's
your
not a TED
sensing.
Talk.
Oh, wasn't it?
Like just like a Vimeo video. Emotion
okay.
Heap has developed, or her and her team have developed these gloves, or like these body
Yeah, I
suits
saw that.
that can be used to manipulate things like pitch and modulation and
So you can do like a whole soundboard just
Appreciation.
by like twisting your body and like dancing, basically. So it's more immersive, like musical creation experience is kind of the goal, I guess. But yeah,
Hey,
technology
I
is
was just
definitely making cool shit.
I was gonna say, I feel like this is probably hitting the outer bed, like, time wise. I feel like we've kind of reached some cool conclusions. What do you guys?
Yeah, we were totally
Yeah.
saying the same thing over here.
Yeah.
So maybe we can wrap it up. I'll just tell everybody who's watching, like, if you want to subscribe to these Free Academy Live episodes, you can hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to participate, feel free to register on the freeacad.com, and you can make a post, you can comment, and you can get involved with this small little community that's quickly growing. And
Help
we're all
us have
about
better conversations.
yeah, we really need your help because we suck at talking to each other. So, like, bring in some new ideas and let us know what you think about all this. And if you want to host an episode, if you have an idea for a topic, you could totally like kind of take the reins or whatever and like introduce us all. And anyways, that's
Join the
all I
Global Book
got.
Club.
Like, we'll talk to you guys later, and thanks
Join the
everybody for
global-
participating.
Join the Global Book Club. We read a book once a month, and it's an international book club. People from all over the world.
Hell yeah, we all could definitely use some improvement in our reading skills. I think that was the original. Full circle,
idea.
man. Let's go ahead and end it with that. Thanks everybody for watching. See you.